I'm alive, they say. Let's check it out. I don't even know if I can get where I need to be. While we're doing this, if you can hear me, welcome to the Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards. And for the record, I don't even know if you can hear me right now. I don't know. We'll just keep checking her out until we find out. So, I got some solitude, got some time. I don't know what's going on at this point in time because I can't find myself. So we're going to have to go searching to make sure that you're hearing me because this might turn into some important stuff. You never know. You never can tell with my first Loonie Liberal in some time. Hopefully, turns out all right. So we're back to YouTube for the time being because one of my profiles is in jail. So I guess I can't make sure whether you can hear me or not. So it's just a crapshoot from here on out, whether you have audio. Here's the thing. I just got back from a week vacation and then another week off. Had myself a family reunion and a beach trip all in 2 weeks. So we had some fun on the Richard side of the family, and the Morris and the Bishops. And there's a whole bunch of other. It's amazing when you look back at your family tree and you start to see how things are coming together, where you started, seeing old pictures of all the old folks, your uncles, your aunts, grandmas, your grandpas, the older generation, you see their younger pictures. We got together for the Morris and the Bishops yesterday, and they had books for us with it all mapped out. Pretty nifty stuff. Something to dive into later. Went down to Florida for a week. Boy, that was fun. Caught the red tide. Do not go under the water if there's red tide. Just trust me, you don't want to do it. I thought my eyeballs were going to fall out of my head. But I don't even know really what I want to talk about for this Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards. I just got some time. So, hopping on for some shits and giggles. I don't even know where to start. I suppose we could start traveling down through Florida. And you know how when you're in Florida, you got the coastlines. That's all tourist beachy stuff. But if you're in the middle of Florida, that's mainly agricultural out there. It's a bunch of farmers. You know, they got oranges out there and grapes and veggies, and they're agriculture in the middle. And then they got the tourists and the beach pretty much off to the east and the west. Well, we do a lot of traveling in the middle because Tori's got relatives there. Little orange orchard. So we're back and forth. We prefer the Gulf Coast because Tori likes the Gulf Coast, so that's where we go. But it was having the red tide, so that wasn't the greatest. But in these agriculture areas, you still see pockets of Trump nests everywhere. I mean, you're like going through Trump country in the middle of Florida. I suppose Florida is technically all Trump country. Hell, what am I talking about? I come from all Trump country, but you just see sporadic Trump stuff still. lingering, like Jim Jones signs on the road. Follow God, he'll show you the way. They still throw Trump signs up every once in a while because their savior is still their savior. But it's a little bit more in Florida, especially in the middle. You don't see it in the fancy schmancy tourist sections. You don't see that a lot. But in the middle of Florida, where all the agriculture is, you still got them dumb farmers that don't know that he done fucked them. They don't even realize that they got fucked. They're still worshiping him like the golden calf. And he didn't do nothing but shit on them. It's kind of funny to me, actually. I mean, it's funny and sad. But it's just hard for me being a Generation Xer. And I always did look up to the boomers. Their parents were the greatest generation. I mean, my grandpa, the Depression era, so World War II era, these guys, these folks, the ones that lived through that shit, I mean, sure, people had it rougher before them too, I'm not saying, but in our contemporary time, those guys, that's the greatest generation. Because we came so far with that generation. That generation did so much for this country that it's hard to compete with the baby boomers' parents. Okay? The baby boomers came about because of the war. That's basically all these guys were coming back from fighting the war, and they came over and started bumping uglies. That's the baby boom. Because of the war. So all of our parents, my parents, the Generation X parents, they're all boomers. They came about because their horny dads came back from war and created a baby boom. And they lived off of the fruits of the labor of that generation. Hence the name, the greatest generation. They fought the war. They lived through the Depression. They did all the dirty work, you see. And then the baby boomers came along and lived off the fruits of their labor. It's fair. It's a fair definition of how things are going. And then us Generation Xers, we were even worse. I'm not going to lie. It's something that you can define as almost a de-evolution. The greatest generation made everything easier for the baby boomers, and the baby boomers in turn started making everything easier for us. And it is what we want to do, but it's also not what we want to do. I mean, we don't want to end up not being able to do anything for ourselves. We want to still be tough. We still want to be able to hunt the deer and kill the deer and build a fire and all these. We want to be able to have to kick ass if we need to kick ass. See, that's the generation gap. That's why because the baby boomers, they won't tell you. They'll sit here and tell you you're millennial, you're just a pussy, you can't hang. But that's what them greatest generation were telling them too. Oh, you couldn't have lived through the Depression. You couldn't have lived through World War II. So they're just doing their job as the oldest generation, trying to keep us young whippersnappers in line. But we rebel. Every generation has their rebellion. They had the hippies. The baby boomers had the hippies. There's always going to be rebellion against conservative notions like being tough, like taking care of yourself, learning how to take care of others. These things are all righteous notions, but sometimes both sides get a little carried away with it. It's hard to really get your brain wrapped around these things sometimes. A lot of people don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about, truth be told. The majority of people in this country don't even really take the time to comprehend what these terms really represent and what they truly mean. It's sociology. It's how we study what happened before and help us learn what's going to happen next. It's how we keep ahead of things by understanding what happened before. Now, let's reestablish and reinforce we have my grandparents' generation. The greatest generation is what they're called, and for good reason. They lived through the Depression. Of course, their parents helped them through the Depression, I'm sure. They lived through World War II. They probably fought in it, most of them. Or they wanted to fight in it. Or they helped when they were back here. Them women, they took care of everything for them years while the guys were away. Them girls came in and did all the men work while the men were off at war. So they were tough. That was a tough generation. It's hard to compete with the grit and determination and toughness of that generation. You're going to be hard pressed because the simple fact is, people, is that we didn't have to have it that rough as they did. They did all the work, so we didn't have to have it as rough as them, which is what parents do, which is what the older generations should do. But there has to be lines drawn too. You can't have it too easy. You got to work for what you got coming. You got to know that you got to be fair about this stuff. And that's what happened. We stopped being fair. Really. We all became entitled. That's the entitlement. When they speak of American entitlement, when you got them ragheads that want to bomb our towers talking about how we're entitled Americans, that's what they're talking about. Is that after we went over there and helped them kick Hitler's dick in the dirt, after we took care of the Great Depression and kicked Hitler's dick in the dirt, we were on top of the mountain with Russia, but then Russia fell off the wayside. The point is that we were the big dogs. We were king shit on Turd Mountain. And the next generation had it a lot easier than the generation before it did. And same goes for the next generation. Us Generation Xers have it a lot easier than the baby boomers had it. Some ways we have it a lot easier, some ways we don't. Like, for instance, when they were growing up and going to college and buying cars and buying houses, everything was cheap. You could raise a family with the guy working and the woman staying at home. That's how easy they had it after they beat Hitler and the Great Depression. You could have one single income support a whole family. Well, can't do that nowadays. What, you got to have a pretty good income to do that nowadays. You probably have to rape the land to do that, or be a doctor, or be a lawyer. You got to do something that's questionable, let's say, just for the sake of argument, because I am being the loony liberal right now, and I'm here to piss off conservatives. I'm here to rattle conservative notions cages, because that's what I want to do as a liberal mind. I want to keep getting ahead. I want to put what doesn't work no more. I want to put obsolete notions away and progress and get ahead of change, which is absolute. But it's a struggle, you see, because you should respect your elders. It was easy for them baby boomers to respect their elders because their elders had been through the shit and they knew. And they were, for the most part, fair and honest, and they tried to do what was right. But then the baby boomers came along and they thought everything they were doing was right. But they didn't take the time to understand it like the generation before them had to. See, back then, when we were fighting the Depression and fighting Hitler and all these things, you had to figure out what was right on your own. There was no Googling. There was no, mass information from everywhere. Hell, you couldn't even call people. You had to write letters to talk about stuff. So it was a different time. And you had to acquire wisdom over intellect. But somewhere my grandpa would call it horse sense. Got to have some horse sense, some common sense. And that was good for them. But somewhere along the line, the common sense stopped becoming sensible. You see, it didn't apply anymore. You couldn't just get by the way they got by. Things changed. Cars, the internet, technology, all these things came along and changed the world. So we had to adapt. One of the biggest things was knowledge, I think. One of the big things that I think I've learned, it was really an epiphany, is that we've always had the same issues going on. I was talking to, like, drinking. Back in the day, my uncles, my grandpa, that generation, the baby boomers, and the greatest generation, if they were having a bad day, they could drink. Most of them just boozed it. You get caught boozing back then, cops pull you over, just get home, or they drive you home, or it was not a big deal. So people coped with alcohol a lot of times. And they were basically self-medicating themselves for issues that they didn't know what the fuck the issues were, like bipolar, like manic depressive, like these things that we are now starting to figure out and understand. These guys coped with alcohol. Well, you can't do that so much anymore. I know I did for a long time. I know for a long time, alcohol was I was self-medicating with alcohol. But you can't get away with that anymore. And it's not something that you can use as a crutch to get through your day. So you have to find other ways. So, like I said, in ways it was easier, in ways it was harder. But the basic problem is the generation gap. Every generation has issue with the next. You're supposed to respect the one prior, but every single generation throughout history takes issue with the next. All them young whippersnappers, they couldn't live through that. They ain't no good. But by the same token, here's the rub, is it's their jobs to make it easier on the next guys. So they make it easier on the next guys, and then they bitch because the next guys have it easier. So that's how we keep each other in line with the generation thing, you see. It is complex. It's difficult to get your brain wrapped around that. And a lot of people don't even really give a shit enough to think about it. And I don't blame you. If you don't want to think about it, you don't have to think about it. I mean, I ain't the boss of you. I'm just saying that in order to understand what's going on in this country, what's going on with people, is we have to understand their environment, what they grew up with, what they had to deal with. All these factors come together to give us our perspectives. Now, I have a lot of the greatest generation in me. I have a lot of baby boomer in me. And I was born a Generation Xer, you see. But this stuff is slowly getting forgotten. See, I get to pick and choose what was good with my grandpa's generation, their toughness, their resilience, their stick to itiveness, these kind of things that you got to know. The baby boomers, I mean, I've been taught by everyone. And you got to bring all the good things together from each generation so we can make it a little bit better for the next generation. But we have to keep staying tough. We have to keep staying smart and ahead of everyone. We need to use our wisdom. We need to use all of our perspectives to figure out what's best. And that's where we're running into trouble nowadays. I see it. The baby boomers don't want to mess with the Xers. They're talking about the millennials, you see. The millennials are after me. So you got most of the greatest generation are gone. There's not many of them left. The people who lived through the Depression, the people who lived through World War II. These guys aren't around anymore. The majority of the old folks are baby boomers. They're the ones that lived in a world after their moms and dads took care of all the tough shit for them for a while. Sure, they had Korea and Vietnam, but whoop-de-doo. It was good for you. It was a tough war. I'm glad you did it, but that was just all a bunch of pissing contest. We was just having a pissing contest with Russia. That's what they had to do. I wouldn't have went to them sons of bitches. Bunch of poor people out there during that war. Sad. But I'm getting off track about that. That's discussion for another day. I want to talk about the fact that the baby boomers and the Generation Xers, they're pretty tight. They're closely knit. But even as Generation Xers, we do a little bit of rebelling. We did some rebelling. We had punk rock. We had gangster rap. We had these rebellions. Now the millennials are coming by and they don't even want to deal with all the old fogey shit. They don't want to know about it. They don't even give a flying fuck what happened back then. Those people don't even know. They don't even know who the hell Michael Jordan is. I mean, they know of him because he's Michael Jordan, but dude, they don't know how outstanding that dude was. They don't know what real rap is. They don't know good music. They don't know a lot of good things. Good old conservative things. I see a lot of kids they don't even open doors. Don't even get up when somebody like an older folks needs to sit down. Don't say please and thank you. They don't latch on to righteous conservative notions. And that's why people give them shit, you see. And that puts up a wall. That's the gap. Is that the baby boomers are all about respect. They had respect for their elders, and they expect the next generations to have respect for their elders, to respect them. See, here's the problem. They ain't as good as the ones before. It's a different world than it was before. This isn't the same. We are 3 generations removed from anything resembling what they grew up in and the world that they lived in. This is a whole nother world from what they know and what they want. And that's where we come into Trump. This is where Trump comes into this Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards, is that Trump clung on to them conservative baby boomers and the Generation Xers that were still clinging on to their mommies and daddies. Trump knew what these people wanted. They wanted a world that they grew up in. But it's not that world anymore. It's not about Christian anymore. Okay? It's not about being a nationalist anymore. Now, if we have another Hitler that comes along, which we had one in this country, but we took care of him for yins. But if we have another Hitler somewhere else that wants to take over the world, yeah, then we're going to have to get nationalists for a while. When they drive them planes into our towers, you're goddamn right we're going to get nationalists. We're going to fuck shit up. You don't come fuck with us and not get beat down. I understand that. But we have no threats like that anymore. We don't have to be nationalist. We can truly be worldwide now. We can care about humanity until they make us care about America. But Trump wants you to be American. Care about America, 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 America. But he don't give a shit about America. He just wants you to care about America so he can do what he wants. I want to help everyone. I want to make everyone's life a little bit better, like the greatest generation did. Like, yes, the baby boomers did it too. And like the Generation Xers are doing. We're making it better for the next generation, while still trying to hold on to them good ideals that make us tough, that make us the best. It's a constant tug and pull. It's tough. But it's something that we can figure out if we take the time to do so. If we take the time to dissect why and how. It's like it's like the one thing that I got into, I was talking to somebody, and it was about a meme that these millennials can't even start a lawnmower. Sure they can. If they wanted to, the millennials can get on YouTube and learn how to take apart a mower and put it back together. I would have loved to have had YouTube, because I would have took apart everything and put it back together. What they lack is self-motivation. They don't have to do these things, so they don't. They don't need to know how to I had to fucking fix lawnmowers all the time, and I just got it done. Fix the lawnmower so I could mow the lawn. They don't have to fucking care about that. They got these zero turns and all these fancy schmancy things. They don't need people. You got lawn care now. Everybody's coming to your house wanting to cut your yard nowadays. Millennials don't have to worry about knowing how to do that shit. And whose fault is it that they don't know how to do that shit? It's not theirs. It's yours, because you didn't teach them. And see, that's the things that start to get in people's way, I think. You know, it's like roadblocks that are put in the way, and people aren't communicating well. I gotta go get Hawkeye because he's yelling. I knew he would. I knew he wouldn't keep my solitude. Come on. Get in there. I'm talking, man. Okay, back at my chair. Now, we're about halfway through. Hawkeye stayed out for a whole half hour. I'll be dipped in shit. Anyway, we're halfway through with this one, and I don't even know if you can fucking hear it, but I don't care. So let's really try to drive this home, where I'm trying to go here. I know it's all jumbled up, and Hopefully, if you have to, you'll just watch it again. If not, if you don't give a fuck, I don't care. I'll try it again some other time. But I really think it's important that we come to terms with how our perspectives are just different. Different generations have different perspectives. And why do they have different perspectives? Because they grew up in different environments. They grew up in different times. They grew up with different obstacles. They grew up in a different world. The world is always going to change. It's always going to change. So we have to change with it. We have to learn to adapt. It's big. Evolution's about adaptation, change, and adapting to it. That's how we got where we're at in the first place, is by changing ourselves and adapting with the change, getting better, get ahead of the things instead of burying our heads in the sand and pretending like the things aren't happening or ostracize the things. No, you can't be gay. You can't have bipolar disorder. You can't. No. You're not allowed to say that socialism might be good in some way. I mean, after all, we've had socialism. Baby boomers. The reason we got through the Great Depression was socialism. The military that fought Hitler was socialism. Can we be honest about it? Are we allowed to be honest? That's what I want to ask the boomers. Can we be honest about this? Because I want to be. We need to be. As a Generation Xer in the middle. See, they thought back when I was starting, D-Generation X, and we were supposed to be the crazy hippies. Now we're the ones with the level heads. We're the ones that are saying, you know what? This is a little bit fucked up, man. We need to fix this. The Generation Xers are out there fighting for civil rights. They're out there fighting for women. They're out there fighting for people. And in the process, they're fighting for America. Because we don't need to fly the flag high to love and be proud of America. How we love and be proud of America is by fighting for Americans, for fighting for people, by fighting for these righteous notions that make America great and always have, whether Trump tells you it wasn't or not. Righteous notions that Trump can't comprehend, like integrity, like honor, like truth and justice. These notions that he can't even fathom. That's what makes America great. And that's what he wanted you to stray away from, so he could do his dirt. And we need to come to terms with that, guys. You need to come to terms with that. Baby boomers, Generation Xers, and even all you young Republicans out there. You need to come to terms with the fact that you got fucking okey-doked by that charlatan. That just, he's Jim Jones. He's Charlie Manson on a national scale. Is basically what he is, folks. He never said he was Jesus, but he tried to be. You guys called him Jesus. That's what Charlie told all his people. That's what Jim Jones told all his people. He thought he was the savior, just like them. It's a cult on a national level. Not regional, not in California, not out in them hippie California places. You guys are a conservative cult right here, all over America. You're the same. I can show you many, many ways why and how. You're the same. And you need to come to terms with it so we can move on, so we can adapt to the change that's always going to occur. So how do we start? How do we start? First and foremost is that you got to get past the notion that you know everything, because you don't. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about 9 times out of 10, because I've talked to a lot of yins, And 9 times out of 10, you don't know. When it comes to politics, when it comes to sociology, when it comes to psychology, when it comes to these things, complex knowledge. Sure, you know how to work on a car. You know how to pay the bills. You know how to work hard. You know how to do these things that are good too, don't get me wrong. But you have no fucking idea what you're talking about when it comes to society and how it functions and how people in society function. Because you didn't have to. You don't need to know. You had a pretty easy ride. You think you didn't have an easy ride? Go grow up somewhere else. Especially all you white guys out there. White conservative nationalist Christians. You think you had it rough? No, you didn't. You never worked hard. I defy you to find me a white boy that actually worked hard. Might have worked long. It might have been a little bit taxing, but you never pickaxed your way through a mountain. Okay? You never dynamited a mountain to make a tunnel through. You want to talk about work hard? No. You didn't pick cotton for 18 hours and without no food, for no wages. You didn't work hard. So quit pretending like you did. You had a job, you held it down, you had a bunch of things do all your digging for you. They made it easier for you, see? So don't pretend like you're the best. Because you're not. You're not your parents. Let's get that clear. You baby boomers, some of you are really great. Some of you are awesome. I love all of yous, but you're not your parents. You ain't that tough. Okay? And neither are most of your kids. The funny thing about being tough is that most people don't have to talk about being tough. If you're really tough, you don't have to prove you're tough. You don't have to talk about being tough. You just are tough. Okay? You don't need to have to talk about how these whippersnappers can't hang and they can't do a lawn. And they're not tough anymore. I'm tough. Well, I'm tough. I work 750 hours a week and I'm tough. That's all I do is work. No. If you have to talk about being tough, then you're not. You just like talking about it. You got to act tough, then you're probably not. Not really. Now, every which way but loose on this Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards, which is what it just is when I'm on YouTube. I mean, I'm moonlighting on YouTube because they have me unrighteously in jail on Facebook. That's the background. That's why I'm even on YouTube in the first place. So I want to establish that fact that this is just a rigmarole. I didn't even get a chance to tend any leeches because usually I like to tend some leeches and do some writing to get my mind right for these things. But when it's YouTube time and I'm in the pokey, it's just usually a purge. I don't really take the time to put my thoughts together. I just let them all come out. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're doing today. Just letting them all come out in a big purge. We had a really good couple weeks. It was nice. It was still nice being in the beach. I just like being where I don't have to do dick. I want to be where I just don't have to really worry about anything. I like that time. You give me some of that time, and I'm happy. I mean, we also went to fucking Carol Baskin's place. We didn't even know we were at fucking Carol Baskin's place until we left fucking Carol Baskin's place. And then we was like, oh shit, we was at fucking Carol Baskin's place. And we got Tori Swiss Army knife with their name on it and fucking Carol Baskin's place, but it says some Big Cat Retreat or something on the back. I think that's what it's really called. But henceforth known as fucking Carol Baskin's place. So we had a good time. We took pictures, we read, we hung out, but we had fun. I got to be with my love. I got to just relax. And then I come back and had some time with Jordan, went to see mom with Jordan and had a good time with her. And then, of course, Bub, I get to see Bub. So, and I was off work after the beach for a week because they wouldn't let us go back to work until we made sure we weren't going to die from being down in Florida with all them Trumpers who just let the shit get red. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we had a good couple weeks. I always, anytime that I just get, like I said, anytime I get to relax and have no pressing issues, except for what I want to do, that's a good time for me. That's bliss. It's lovely bliss. I like having no responsibilities. I like having things that aren't pressing for me. I don't need to be doing something. So there's that. But now it's back to work here later on tonight. That's why I got to get this purge out. Be back to work. You know, Special Olympics will be starting back up again. We're going to get the ball rolling yet again with them Belmont Eagles. And it's going to be back to business as usual. And I was compelled to tell you about what I learned on my 2-week vacation. And what I learned on my 2-week vacation is that when it's all said and done, no matter how much we bicker, no matter how much we fight, no matter how much we disagree, no matter how much our perspectives may differ, we got love. We care about each other. And that's the stuff that binds us. We have to stop looking for the things that bring us apart and start looking for the things that bind us together, that make us tougher, that make us stronger, that make us more capable. We really do got, it seems cliche and like blah, 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 but we got to stop dividing and start uniting. We need to find ways to unite, not to divide. So from here on out, that's like a clue. Get yourself a clue, Scooby-Doo, that if people are looking to divide you by something, whether it's you're Christian, whether it's you're American, whether it's you've been in the military, whether you work gas and oil, whether you work for the coal, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a comedian, I don't give a fuck why they're trying to divide you or ostracize a group, whether you're heterosexual or homosexual, it doesn't matter. These things are petty compared to the things that unite us, compared to the things that make us the same. Our love for each other is more profound than the things that divide us. And it really comes down to that. It sounds like cliche. It sounds like something, yeah, sure, whatever, Lance. But it really is that simple, I think. That your first clue, Scooby-Doo, no shit, Sherlock, is that if somebody is coming at you and trying to divide us, that's your first clue that it's probably wrong. It's probably wrong, folks. We need to come down to that brass tacks, I think. Because we see where it gets us. Finding ways to divide ourselves is what causes war, is what causes strife, is what causes conflict and chaos. When we come together and we unite, that's what makes us stronger. That's what makes us more capable. That's where America gets its strength and always has. We have to realize that the divisions, we divided black and white, and you seen where it happened. We divided women and men, and you see what happens with that. We're dividing homosexual and heterosexual, and you see what comes of it. Strife, bad things. It's not good. It's not good for either side. But when we find ways to come together and find ways that we're the same and find the ties that bind us, that's where we get our strength from. I told these people that you guys want to talk about America being strong. What do you think all these other bad countries out there are thinking when we're here in America fighting amongst ourselves? They're licking their chops. Because when we're divided as Americans, we're easier pickings, you see. When you separate the herd, then you become easy pickings. So you got all these guys, all these bad guys, legitimate bad guys out there, like Putin, for instance. Yeah, like some Islams, like some Christians. Like there's bad elements out there that want to bring chaos down on our great society. And they're licking their chops because we're all divided. We forget our righteous ideals. All people are created equal. The ties that bind are what make us strong, not the things that divide us. That makes us weak. We are weak with division, and we are strong when we unite. And that means everyone, guys. Not just a Christian, if you like Christians, not just an American nationalist. You got to have your guns and be in the military to be good. Not just, homosexual. Well, you better just have a wife and some kids or you ain't good enough. See, these are the things that keep us apart and keep us weak. But we need to bring in all these good things, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. It's really simple, guys. All this stuff is simple. These are conservative notions that you want to say you're conservative. Okay, that's a conservative notion. You accentuate the positives and you eliminate the negatives. It's a conservative notion that I agree with. So why aren't you doing it? With everyone, not just you. Everyone. Okay? If you're allowed to be a bad, so is someone else. You got some bads, you're not perfect. So you got some negatives to eliminate. And everybody's got some positives to accentuate too. Everybody's got something to offer. Everyone. You just got to find it. They got to find it. And other people should help them try to find it. That's how you accentuate your positives. See, I have a positive. I have a gift of gab. I have decent personality. So these are the things that I can use to help other people. And I'm a pretty bad drunk, so I try not to drink so much. So I'm eliminating negatives and I'm accentuating positives. And that's what I try to do, and that's what we should all try to do, right? I mean, am I lying? Am I full of shit right now? Yeah, probably I'm full of shit. Not so much that my eyes are turning brown yet, but I probably am a little bit full of shit every now and again. But this is logical, right? I'm using your conservative notions against you, you see. Why can't you understand that? Get your brain wrapped around the fact that I'm using your weapons against you. See, the greatest generation understood that. They understood. They understood somehow that everyone's equal in some way. And they got better at it every generation. But they always had to deal with their parents' prejudice, their parents' bias. See, we need to eliminate that. We need to eliminate prejudice and bias. We need to eliminate hate. I mean, I'm not talking about all peace and love. I'm a little bit of a hippie, but I don't expect you to be all the way hippie either. Somebody fucks with you and you feel like you need to punch him in the face, maybe you do. Personally, it's going to take a lot for me to do that. But if that's in your wheelhouse, okay. And you don't have to pay the consequences for it. I'm not saying I want to be extremely anything. I don't want to be extremely conservative and I don't want to be extremely liberal. Extremes are bad. We know this. It's another thing that's simple that we know. It's conservative wisdom. Extremes are not good. Anything in extreme has high potential of being bad. Anything, love included. If you're extremely in love with somebody, you might do some crazy fucking shit. So let's just be fair. Everything in extreme has more potential for being bad. Let's say it that way. There's more potential for something turning bad that is extreme. And that goes for conservative notions. That goes for anything. Doesn't that make sense? Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense. Now you need to apply it. Now you need to remember that as you're going through your day. Now you need to think, everyone. Stop, everyone. Am I being a little bit too extreme about this? Just give yourself a test every now and again. Wait a second. I'm being a little bit fucking over the edge here, right? Yeah, I mean, you got to have your own personal barometer of what's extreme. Just crazy. Oh, everything's well, Sketchy. How you feeling? Did you watch some of it? You should go watch it. It's just a purge. I had a vacay. Got to see all the kids real good. Got to see the family, nieces and nephews. I can't complain. Nobody's going to listen anyway, but it was a good couple weeks I had. And like I said, I'm in Facebook jail again, so I had to come back to YouTube. Good to see you too, buddy. I'm almost to the end of my Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards, and my sidekick, Sketchy Peasant. I always say that's a nice handle. I ain't going to lie. I'll keep telling you every time I see you. Sketchy Peasant's a sweet handle. It really is. Got about 6 more minutes, man. You got anything you want to talk about, Sketchy? If you don't, I mean, I can just keep rambling on because that's what I've been doing. All is well on my end. Glad you're doing well. I'll rewatch the stream. Thank you. Oh, no, thank you, Sketchy. Thank you for your feedback, sir. It was one of those purges kind of thing. I had the time and the opportunity, so I did it. Haven't been having much of that lately for either forum, either Facebook or this one, but as it so happens, I am unrighteously jailed in Facebook yet again. 30 days. I'm on perpetual probation, Sketchy. First toe out of line, 30 days. You're done, Lance. Call it a month. You're going to have to take a vacation for a month from Facebook, Lance. That's what they do to me. But, oh well, que sera. Que sera, sera. Yeah, I went into some generation stuff. I was discussing, the greatest generation and the baby boomers and Generation X and millennials. I was trying to tie in a bunch of stuff because, like I said, I had the family reunion, had a trip to the beach, had a good couple weeks off. So I went down to the beach for a week and then I had to stay home from work for another week. So it was some fun. I had some fun. Good time off. I'm glad everything's good on your end, though, Bubba. Well, 4 more minutes. And I should roll into the whole end of the Loonie Liberal Power Hour with your host, Lance Richards, because sometimes it just sneaks right up on me. So, as always, we should be nice and fair and honest and kind and do our best. For fuck's sakes, do your very best. At least try to be good, to be nice, to be fair, to be honest, to have integrity. Yeah, I mean, these kind of things do matter. They really do matter when it's all said and done. I mean, you're not just here to piss on the world for 70 years and then kick the bucket and, oh, well, here, see what you guys can do with it now. No, you're supposed to be conscious of others. You're supposed to try to give more than you take away. I mean, all these things that we learned from the greatest generation, we should continue to try to do in this new world that we find ourselves. We should try to keep the good conservative notions that they gave us and apply them to our world now. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. The golden rule. How about that? You want to talk about being a Christian? Okay, there you go. It's called the golden rule. Look it up. Be cool, man. Try to be righteous. Keep preaching the truth. Facebook can't stop you. Treat people how you want to be treated. People are selfish and don't care about others. You and I will keep the faith alive. You're goddamn Skippy, we will, Sketchy. Say that five times fast. We damn sure will, Skippy. I don't think I can say it 5 times fast, but yeah. Amen, brother. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I'll try to tell the truth. I always try to tell the truth, and I give people the option. If you think I'm not telling the truth, then tell me how. Explain to me. Show me why and how I'm not telling you the truth. Because that's I'm all about the truth. I've put in quite a few decades of looking for it. And I'll continue. I mean, till my dying breath, my last breath, I'll be looking for some truth. My last breath is probably when I'll find it all, right? Yeah, I might have to just not make this a jail time thing, Sketchy. I might have to just come in here and say hi to you every once in a while. And I guess YouTube must need a little bit of my pretty face. And oh, by the way, a state championship shirt right here. It may not look like much, but this is state championship shirt right here. Remind me, I'll tell you the story someday. It was a good story. So, about 30 seconds left. Thank you, Sketchy, yet again. Thank all you guys, whoever listens, whoever If you don't, well, then fuck you. That's your fault. But if you listen sometime, thank you for your time. If you have any feedback, you know where to find me after they let me out of jail. Hawkeye's barking. So, as always, be cool. Treat people how you want to be treated. Try to do the best you can for America and Jesus and your family and your kids and everybody's kids. Yes, YouTube needs more of your wisdom. Nice seeing you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a wonderful week. Come back soon. Yes, sir. Yes, sketchy sir. Yes, sir, sketchy sir. However they would say it. I'll try. Thank you, thank you. Have a good one, sketchy. Fairly righteous man out.